surprise. You have opened my eyes. I see love, powers in you. Such a beautiful view of the world. Healing is real. You recreate what you feel through your words. No hiding away. You mean what you say. Your strong brute force put me right back on course. Not hard to see. This is healthy for me to face the fears that I've had all these years. Just do one thing, one thing. You need to bear it all, bear it all, bear it all. You need to bear it all, bear it all, bear it all.
Hello, everybody. I'm Darrell.
And I'm Melanie.
So I think that we should do a proper introduction with each other because
Yes.
we've never really done it. So I think it's important that I introduce myself to you, and then you do the same.
Okay.
So my name is Darrell, New York, and I love to create. I love to write. I love to just do a lot of things. I like to film, direct, literally anything creative. I even like to sing and dance, like when. Yeah, so that's me.
Well, I'm Melanie. I'm also from New York, Harlem. And just like you, I love to create. And I love to do different things aside from dancing, although dancing is like number one for me. I've been doing things like going into acting, going into sewing and making my own clothes, because I'm like known for like making my own crop tops and like making my own ripped jeans. So I just like search up a YouTube video because I'm like good at watching. So like I could just mimic anything I see. So like the filming, the directing, like I want to do that too because like I feel like other art forms are like just as fun, even though dance is like my primary one. Like I do want to like go to other worlds as well, and drawing too.
I love that. Definitely same. I don't like to be subjected to just one thing. Like a lot of people know me for my writing because that's really all I've shared so far.
Yeah.
And, the truth is that I'm so much more. So I would always say it, I'm a writer, which is true. And I would say that's first, just like dancing for you. Sometimes I kind of feel like, I don't feel comfortable just being labeled as one thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. At one point, I kept saying I was a dancer, but then I was like, because then when you're dancing, you're creating, and then like that goes for like, say that again.
Also a choreographer at the same time.
Yeah, and it's like there's a lot more that goes into it. It's like visuals. It's also like dressing and like that's all fashion included. That's all visuals included. That's all like creating and filming included. So it's like a lot that goes into being a dancer, which can also go into artist. So, and acting, dancing is I'm not gonna say basically acting, but dancing does partake in acting because you're telling a story. So I just feel like they all bounce off of each other. Every art form kind of bounces off of each other. So I think that's why I want to be a master of many as well.
I love that. I definitely agree. Like dancing is also writing in a sense. Like you said, you're telling a story. And then like with acting, like it's like dancing as well. Because when you're dancing, there's this confidence switch, and there's this that I see when I see you perform. Like it's like, oh, okay. And then I remember when we were sophomores, and you had a performance, and it was amazing. And then you
thank you.
Into the classroom. I think it was global. And then you came in and everybody started clapping, and you literally just sat at your desk and you were just like, and then
I don't know what you're talking about. I was scared because like teachers and people like nobody really knew me even by the time it was sophomore year. And teachers and people were like, "Oh, why do you act shy? Like you're no longer to be shy in my class." And I was just like, I don't know about that. Cause I don't know, like I don't know. There's something about being articulate in dance that comes easy for me rather than being like a natural person. Because I feel like who I am as a dancer is who I want to be as a person, but how can that read so quickly? So like that's where I'm like stuck at right now. Like I'm getting into it.
Yes, always. A little every day. A friend of mine said things don't happen on time; they happen in time. So how would you say like dancing and being a choreographer, like just creating things as well, like just in general, how would you say that helped you get through this time?
I feel like quarantine was definitely difficult because I'm a very I don't know, I wouldn't call myself an extrovert, but I wouldn't call myself an introvert at the same time because I love to party, but then like when I don't want to party, I don't want to party, and when like I don't want to talk, I won't talk. But if I talk, then I'm talking a lot. Like it's a very like on and off. I'm never in a gray area. So when it came to quarantine and like us being stuck in the house, I was just like, okay, well, like now what? Because like my training is in school, and like if anyone knows me, I love my school to dear life. Like I do anything for my school. So when that training kind of was taken away from me, I was like, oh, this is not the same. Like, how am I supposed to keep being motivated and keep my technique when I don't come from technique? Like, like Randolph didn't give us no technique. Like that was just style. That was like us putting our own oomph in it, and it was kind of like what it was. But now like being in school, they kind of like now they're fixing you up, now they're telling you what's wrong, what's the right way. So I was very appreciative of that. And then when it got taken away from me, I was like, oh, now where's my foundation? Like now I kind of lost it, and I kind of got discouraged, and I wasn't taking school seriously online. And but what did come out of that was that freestyling and improvisation came to me like this, because it was a very emotional time. So like my emotions were easy to grasp when it came to freestyling, and like hearing music for me started to become like a spark. Like I started appreciating instruments in music more. I started actually like listening to my impulse, and then I got stuck again in the freestyling because now I'm like, choreographing I kind of walked away from because all my life it's been about choreography, and I was always shy to like freestyle because freestyling is like, that's whatever you come up with right then and there, and sometimes you ain't got nothing to say, nothing to show, and you look crazy. Like that's the worst feeling. But when it came to like freestyling now I'm like, I got all this to say. Like I got this whole adventure in me that is now stuck in the house. So I think I definitely appreciate quarantine for helping me freestyle, but it kind of reversed the whole choreographic statement on me, because now that's not what I want to do. Like now my impulse is, I forgot what you wanted me to do. I'm sorry. Like that's now what's stuck in my head, and I was like, I just want to dance. Like I just want to dance for what dance is, and for what I feel in the music and live in the music as well. Like that's really important to me now, because like I'm always one to suppress my emotions, and then when I'm dancing now, it's like all these emotions can just come out and they're unapologetic. And I've always wanted to get to that point in dance. So then dance, I started seeing a lot of filmmaking, a lot of directing. I started realizing that fashion was so important. I started realizing that these little things were implemented in my style and my technique. And I always was the one to be like, I don't have technique, but technique is style. And it took me a while to realize that. So I was like, I'm going to drop this technique thing and I'm going to go to my style. And I think that's what's very much helped me during this time. It's like I'm now like really in my prime, in my style, still figuring it out. It's still process. But I definitely feel like I'm going in the right direction of where I'm planning to go. But overall, it's been motivating, unmotivating at the same time. Like it's had its little nitpicks, but it's very a humbling experience to go through quarantine because the value of school for me started to deplete, and then I started really forgetting like this was my dream school in the first place. And then I started realizing that like I wasn't taking it seriously a little bit. And now I'm a senior and now we might not even go back. Like that blows my mind. Like I fought my dear life to be in that school. So now it's made me realize like, wow, this space, because my school is very like open-minded, open space, everything queer, everything love, everything appreciative. Like everybody's so amazing and so supportive. Even though you know that you got the little drama, whatever the case may be, but that does not overthrow how amazing the space really is when we come together and we get to improvise with each other and we get to touch each other. We're always like touching each other for whatever reason. And those moments are like so special to me. Like there's moments I won't forget because we don't know each other. Like high school, like we don't know each other. But when you put artists in a room together, like what comes out of it is so special. And I miss that about school so much. And like I won't find that anywhere else. So it made me think about that a lot, especially in this quarantine. So I think people are very important. I think we go around saying like we don't need people. We need people. We definitely need people. Like and I'm one to vouch for I don't need anybody. I'm telling you, the best days of my life always include me being with people, me touching people, me just flipping on the floor and somebody carrying me on their back. Like those things are like priceless, and they're never recorded, which fucking sucks. But that I definitely now realize like there's no place without people. Like the value of a space is within people, and I don't know, like I don't know. I miss it so much.
No, for sure. I definitely agree. I think especially now, being that I would say, being that, I was put alone in my room for months, it really gave me time to be like, wow, people are very important as well.
Mm.
I really realized that family as well. And I, like for a long time, I wasn't as close to my family for a while. And, a part of shutting down for so many years, it played a part in me having relationships with other people close to me because I wasn't being myself. So I couldn't really engage with them the way I normally would. So some people I just stopped talking to because I didn't know what to do or how to like be in communication with them, like even my mom. And during this time, we've been able to really work on our relationship and like spend more time together, talk to each other. I finally told her, what I've been going through all these years and, like why I've been so closed off in terms of like, not knowing who to be because I didn't want to be myself. And my grandmother, like we've been very close. And, just getting a lot of like getting a chance to really be close to my inner artist child. And, I forgot how close me and my grandmother were when I was a kid. Like we were so close and we talked about everything. And now it just feels that way again. And like we tell each other things that we don't talk about to anybody else. And just hearing the things that she tells me is just like, wow, like she trusts me and she feels like me. So it's just beautiful to see someone who's been on the earth for so long turn to somebody who's been here for 20 years to confide in. It's just like, wow, you must have been waiting for someone like me. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned that writing is not just for me to share creatively and, write these pieces and put them out for everybody to see and love. It's really for me to do before I go to bed, when I wake up, for me to express myself to myself. And, I'll never stop sharing, but best believe I have my book that only I see.
Yeah.
Wasn't doing that before. Before my writing was for me to share with people and seek that validation to define me as a writer and as an artist. But eventually I had to realize that it's really about how I feel as an artist.
Hmm.
We can't expect other people to view us as artists if we don't even view ourselves as artists.
Right.
I'm just grateful that everything happened the way that it did now, because now I think the thing that excites me the most is to put myself out there, even though it's very scary to me. It's
Mhm.
I know that that's how things change
Yeah.
for sure.
I think that's great though. I think I definitely do understand like the whole family oriented thing because I also came to my mom directly about some things that been I've been holding on to, and I've been realizing that a lot of like childhood trauma is a lot of where my personality stands now. And I've been trying to heal those wounds because I've been noticing that like I think it's my wounded child who has the strap on me right now, and I'm trying to get her out because like she has something to say, and I feel like the best way to even say her side of the story is through dance, is through drawing, is through writing. So I definitely understand where you're saying like you write to yourself, because I do that too. Like there's like a book, a journal that if anybody dare see what I've said, I all hell break loose. Like I wouldn't know what to do because those are my honest, truest feelings. And even when dancing, sometimes I feel like those are still not my honest, truest feelings. And it's kind of like an onion, like trying to unlayer yourself
Love
and
that.
see. It's like to see where like you could really get to the bottom. That's why I continuously hear the same songs because I'm like, there's more. Like there's so more, and I could still hear the same heartbreaking songs and not be heartbroken, but still feel like there's more. Like I gotta get it out, and there's something left to say, and sometimes it don't come out, but like sometimes it just does, and I don't want to give up on songs because of that. That's why I definitely give up on choreography. Because I'm like, this is not what I want to say anymore. This is what I want to say. And I think, I don't know, like, I think, I think it's crazy they would even think about taking art out of school. Like, because, like, art is so healing. And it's like, if it wasn't for art, like, I wouldn't be who I am today at all because what has helped me heal is what I do, not so much the people around me. Because when you don't have that kind of support, then you don't know where to turn, and that's where things get bad.
Mhm.
And then for schools to even think that art is what they should take away from instead of like the real issue of some of these teachers and the subjects that they teach in school. Because I personally feel like Randolph didn't do much for me.
They didn't really prepare me for it.
Yeah.
What it really comes down to is, as human, we are all artists, and anymore we have to realize that. And I think thinking that way and seeing things in that light, we're so much happier.
Yeah, definitely. I think we appreciate life more because, like, the sky wakes up every day and those clouds make them figures, and we don't ask it to do it, but it's doing it anyways. And I think that's like, I don't know, like, if, I don't know, but it's definitely a different world when you do see everything as art because you will even start appreciating, like, the way the rain comes down and the way that the little drops are like sitting on your window, and then you're like, oh wow, like
Yes.
look at that. Like it's amazing to just appreciate life in that light. As kids, I think we already know what we want to do, but then we grow up and we be put in these systems that is like, oh, that's not ideal. And then I'm like, oh, okay, my fault. Like, let me change, let me change what I want real quick. And then just to realize that some people obtain that and then are miserable when they grow up. And then others who go through struggle, but then they end up being who they want to be. And it's kind of like we all have that choice within us. But it's like I definitely vouch for the people that want to do what they want to do, even though it's not ideal, because that's all I've ever heard. Like, oh, that's not an ideal job. That's not going to make you money. I'm like, who said I was doing this for the money? Like, because I tried to quit dancing a couple of times.
Really?
And yeah. Because I was like,
I could never.
I was so convinced by people that it wasn't ideal. Like, I wouldn't really, like, it's not real. Like, you know, the kids that have money are the ones that get on TV. Or the kids that have famous parents are the ones that are going to be famous for life. You know what I'm saying? And I started to believe that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't ever going to receive training, that I wasn't being realistic, and no one was supporting me at a time, and it was a lot of teasing, a lot of bullying, and a lot of laughing, and I was just like, oh man, like, am I crazy? Like, is this really what's for me? Until I realized, like, I would hear music, and now I'm like, now I can't stop moving, like, or I'm standing up and now I'm singing and dancing and humming, and I'm like, this thing follows me wherever I go. How can I give it up just because somebody thinks I look dumb? And then now, you know, I just think that without the proper foundation, in the beginning, everybody looks and sounds dumb.
Yeah.
That is just what it comes to be, because we're not yet articulate in those areas. And training and practicing is the reason why we become articulate, because now you understand me. Like, now I got training. Now I'm practicing. Now you understand what I'm trying to give you. Like, now you understand my words. Now you understand this film, because now I'm being articulate. When we start off, you can't expect like a kid to be like, boom, bam, bam, and you understand the whole story. Like, that don't work like that. And I think that's like perfectionism has really been embedded in my brain, and I've been trying to get rid of that, because I'm like, oh no, this is not working for me. Like, it's an illusion at that. So I don't know.
Yes. Now, I want to talk about two things you mentioned: childhood trauma and perfectionism. So first, I'll get into perfectionism because it's a quick point. Um, I've also learned, you know, perfectionism really is just another word for insecure.
Yeah.
You know, it's just good for us to remember that regardless, we have a message, so we have to share. You know, we're not always going to be 100% pleased with what we do, but we have to be 100% sure that it's us and it's the truth.
Yeah.
And it's just so crazy, especially growing up where we grow up. You're always told that something is good when other people think it's good.
Yeah.
So even without anybody saying anything, we're already worried about that before we share anything. Remember, I would share my writing on my Instagram, and then I would take it down if it didn't get like as much attention as I felt it deserved,
Mm.
stuff like that. But in all reality, it's like, Darrell, you were quiet. You didn't speak. People didn't even expect, you know, like, even if, regardless of what, it doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, I have a message. And if
Yeah.
someone goes on my outlets and my platforms, they need to see my message. Because
Yeah.
before people know me, I want them to know what I stand for. You know, and I guess it took for me to know what I stand for first. So really, like, moments like that, I don't get mad at myself for thinking back. You know, it's just like, you were a kid, you didn't know. And I think
Yeah.
that the frustrating thing is back then, and you know, we would, you know, the older, whatever age you are, is the oldest you've ever been. So you feel like you have, you know, you hold yourself to this level where you feel like you need to be doing certain things, or you feel like you're not doing enough. And so we really worry ourselves to make sure certain things are perfect. But then, as like the next year, we're looking back like, you know, I was a kid. I didn't,
Yeah.
whenever we're not doing what we love to do, we feel unhappy. And I think that's a signal. You know, our bodies are always telling us.
Yeah.
And whether we know it or not, like our bodies are always telling us things. So important. It's important that we pay attention. Um, Now, childhood trauma. We have to address that. I definitely. During this time, that's something that I've also been tapping into. So, um, I've been able to really pinpoint certain things and understand why I've been so closed off from people and from the world for so long, and why I always felt like I wasn't actually living, but I was just here. And it was because I wasn't being myself. And there's no other way to live. That's the only way you can live. So
Yeah.
now I get it. Back then I didn't. And I had to really tap into things that I tried to forget about, things that I didn't want to let define me, but I had to know that it will define me if I don't tap into it. Like you said, having your wounded child speak and be heard, and, let her say what she needs to say. And for me, it's really important for me to let him say what he needs to say so that way I can be who I am. And, the older I get, the more I realize how much I want to be him,
Yeah. Yes.
and just how creative he was. And now I see myself being like that. And it's just so like crazy how fast you could just go back to who you were, or like,
Mhm.
you could be who you want to be if you just allow yourself to feel and you really just ask yourself, okay, what am I feeling? Let me think, how did this happen? When did this start?
Just realizing that some people don't understand what it takes to be a different person. I feel like we are who we are. Like you have your story, I have my story. I can't be mad at you for the success you bring to your life when that's not my purpose. That's not my description. And I will never find out what my purpose is if I'm so focused on you and not worried about, oh, well, what's my purpose? Maybe our purpose aligns, but that's not mine. And I feel like people think that somebody's life is a specific way just because of the results that are being produced on social media in particularly. And I'm like, you have no idea what it takes. Like the in between, like you only see this, but behind this, there's all of this. And it's like, you don't see that part. Like you don't see how many times that person cried, or how many no's that person received, or how many times that person was told that they look crazy and they need to stop. Like, I feel like people forget that. And then people, envy the people that love themselves and are stepping into their power. And then it's like, oh, well, why not me? Well, like, it could be you, but you're reciprocating bad energy to yourself. Because if I'm giving you hateful eyes, those hateful eyes just come right back to me. And it's like, I think people will learn from just spreading love and giving and receiving. Like, I love spreading love and I love receiving it. And it's like, you just get more of that as you go. But if now you're being hateful, now you're being bitter because whatever the case may be, now it's like you losing your sense of purpose. You're losing your sense of self. Like, now you're trying to play yourself out to be somebody who you're not. Like, how changing your look in middle school. Like, I went through the same exact thing. Like, and even being told, like, in high school, Miss Cruz, the dean, anytime she saw me and I had a crop top on, hell break loose for this woman. And I was just like, I'm not understanding why this girl who I just saw with a bandeau on is not getting called home, but you coming at me when my crop top is like up to here. Like, and all you see is this. Like, those type of things and those restrictions were a part of another reason why, like, when it comes to style, people hold back because it's like, oh, now I look a little different, or now people don't look like that, and I look like this. And I used to wear a lot of colors before, and there was a time where I just didn't wear colors at all, and I was just confused because it's a lot of like the world playing us out to be the same people, and whoever is stepping out of that box is like they get shamed, they go through all this, teasing and bullying and hateful things and hateful energy. But in all reality, those people win. Like those are the ones that end up being like Nikola Tesla. Those people end up being Albert Einstein, like those people, they were not in the norm. They were seen as crazy because they wasn't, you know, sitting there and taking people's shit, talking about, oh, you can't be like this. They were like, well, I'm gonna do it anyways, whether you think I'm gonna succeed or not. Right.
Like, no. And, you know, like you saying that, you know, she would come to you about your clothes and stuff. Mind you, they didn't teach us how to do taxes. They didn't teach us, like, you know, they come
Oh my god.
and then we're lost when we leave here. Thank you for thinking you're doing something.
Right.
You know, like, how about we start to teach the guys that they need to be careful what they do and respect women rather than teaching women to hide their bodies and stuff like that. Now I want to ask you, you know, in terms of being an artist and like your journey, what's something that you thought would never change for you, but has, or something you never thought you would do, but has you do it now, or anything like that that you thought was impossible?
Um, what I honestly thought was impossible was me catching up to the people I saw as trained, as full technique, as fully dancing and training since the age of 3. I thought I'd never catch up to those people because I saw those people as when I stepped into school. I never been more surrounded by people that been dancing and training since the age of 3. And me, I don't come from that. Obviously, I come from like Harlem, like across the street is my platform, like down the block is my platform. Like I would just dance, but it was never like in school. My So as a Hispanic, art is really not ideal. As like I said before, they came to New York for us to have ideal jobs like cops and firefighters and nurses. So being a dancer was not what my family intended I would even choose. And so stepping into a room full of dancers that were technically trained and me sitting at that bar working like 10 times as hard as I possibly could to just catch up. Like I thought I'd never be next to those people. And like one time somebody had pointed out to me, like at the end of my first year, somebody had pointed out to me, um, you're in a room full of people who've been training since they were 3. You're not the one that needs to catch up. They need to catch up. You guys are literally in the same room. What makes you any different? Like, yeah, and it made me change my perspective because I was like, I'm trying to fight to be like them when I'm already in a room with them. I don't need to fight to be them. I'm already them. It's just my technique lies somewhere else, and their technique lies somewhere else, and I'm trying to work in reverse while they work in my direction. And it's amazing to me to have like built so many great connections with those people because they look at me like, girl, like you're like this, but I'm like, but you're like this. And it took me a very long time to accept the fact that I was I was not different. It was just like, it was definitely about confidence. It definitely was about believing in myself because once I started like minimizing myself and saying, oh, I'm not trained, so I can't. And then I started saying, oh, well, I'm in a room full of trained people. I can. That's when things started to turn, and that's when things started to really open up for me. And I thought that like the support of many people wouldn't come around because when I was younger, nobody supported me. But now people are coming around. My mom is coming around. I mean, not fully around, but everybody's coming around and they're actually seeing that I'm actually really working hard for this, and this is exactly who I want to be, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. And now they're like, oh, I believe you. And I thought that was never going to happen for me personally, because dance has not only given me the best life that I could possibly have, but it's given me a lot of the worst moments in my whole entire life. And I'm grateful for both, 100%.
That's beautiful. Like, you know, we have to believe in ourselves before anybody else can. And you know, a lot of the time we get very upset with the people who are supposed to support us when they don't. But it's like sometimes, you know, even though they love us, there's nothing for them to really see or anything to show for us for them to believe in, you know? So it's just like, you know, sometimes we do have people who are like, okay, that's what you want to do? Okay. Like, I support you without even like seeing you beast yet, you know? But
Mm-hmm.
who some people don't even believe in those things that much to even be like, yes, you know? So some people don't see things before they're a thing. You know, artists see things before they're a thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess it's really about believing in yourself. Like you did. Like you literally took yourself from point A to here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
And
it,
sometimes it's forgetful. It's a very forgetful experience. Sometimes we kind of downplay our point A to point G, let's say G, because we're not at Z yet, but we'll get there. But I think we definitely do downplay that. And I think it does make the journey a little bit more difficult when people don't see that in you. So then you don't see that in you, but then you know, like it's a feeling that you know you can be. And that's like the whole thing with people not believing in a process. People just believing that it's a destination. And the process is the most important part. Like that's when you find the most marvelous experiences of your life is the process, like the journey of getting there.
as artists, we're very like unsatisfied. So like, you know, like we need more. You know, we want the creativity to roll in as fast as it can. We just want, you know, and it's more so.
Result.
Do you notice that feeling you get, and it's just out of nowhere, and it's like I was so excited and happy a few weeks ago, and so dull, and I just don't care about the things that I used to, and it's just
Mm.
like we need something to like really excite us. Like we're literally children as artists,
Yes.
so we have to be excited. We have to have something to excite us, and if we don't, we're just gonna be like, you know. And as kids, we had people and adults to give us things that excite us. But now it's taking care of ourselves. So it's like we're responsible for that.
Yeah. I feel like also when we were kids, it was like we didn't like staying at home, like how the whole quarantine has happened. So it's like we wanted adventure as kids. Like every kid wants adventure, every kid wants to have fun. So as an artist, it's definitely very similar because we're always trying to find an adventure of some sort of like how this plays into that, or you know. And we make up things when we're smaller. We make up these scripts. Like we're basically all actors when we're playing with Barbies, and we're basically actors and creators when we're dancing and making up songs and rapping and having contests and doing all these things. Like those things were all a part of our creativity and our imagination. And I feel like that's why artists are very in tune with their inner children, because that's what we're trying to find. Like we're trying to find that ease of like, oh, remember when we were younger and this clicked so fast for us? And then now we're at this perfectionism stage of like, why can't I just let myself be? Because that's what we did when we was kids. It's like, if I said Barbie had problems with Ken, then Barbie had problems with Ken, and that was that. It wasn't it wasn't, oh, Barbie's background story, this, that, and the fourth. Oh, why is she mad? Or like this. It was just what it was, and it was fun, and it was real to us. And now we want to make it real to everybody else, and that's where it kind of loses um, its value.
It's so like just thinking back, it's like when did I stop doing those things? You know?
At a point in our lives when we figure out ourselves, we're actually unlearning all those things that made us cold hearted, what made us feel emotionally distant, what made us emotional and sensitive in the first place. Because those things are just illusions of what experiences and people and words and things that have accumulated our beings to be the way they are now. And as kids, we just took shit and went. Like we whatever it was that day, it didn't come on to the next day. Like that's why babies forget. Like, it goes in one ear, it's in there, and then it goes out the other. And then, you ask me for a crayon today, but you won't remember the crayon tomorrow. And that's what we forget to do now. Like we hold on to stuff and make it more important than what it actually is.
So I've been listening to a lot of Hannah Montana and Cheetah Girls lately.
Cheetah Girls, yes.
And it's
Cheetah Girls, yes.
during quarantine. I've watched the Cheetah Girls, all three movies, probably like 3 times each. Like
And you don't get tired of them at all.
I haven't, because it's just like, and it's crazy because the more I watch them, the more I understand every.
Yes.
I'm like, this is what they tell me. Like they
Yeah.
were trying to prepare me for that exchange, that damn, what's the word I was about to say? That transition of like,
Yes.
trying to figure out who I am and learning how to be that. And they were those positive figures that we sometimes didn't have.
This is like a part of an imagination that has to do with oneself, that makes one seem like they have multiple personalities or split personalities. Like I looked into Split all the time. I looked into Christopher Robin and Inside Out. Like those drove me to believe that like our emotions and the way we act, like they're unpredictable. And I feel like when it comes to characterizing myself, I'm like always confused. Cause I'm like, how I started off saying like I'm an introvert, but I'm an extrovert at the same time. Like I don't know.
It's like I don't know. It's
Yeah.
so like sure of who exactly you are 100%. Especially when you're still learning yourself. So
Yeah.
hard to sit and talk about yourself.
Mhm.
I'm still learning, sweetie. Like as much as you probably know. You
And
know.
I love being different people. I love that I have this serious side to me, but then I love that I have this fun side to me, but then I love I have this crazy side to me. Like I love being different people. And like it's like I don't know, like it's just crazy because we want to be certain of ourselves, but the reality of it is I'm so uncertain of myself, but I'm so comfortable with being in such a chaotic body that I'm like, I want to be whoever I want. So if I say I'm this, I'm that, like point blank, period. Let me be that. But if you see me tomorrow and I'm somebody else, don't be surprised because I'm constantly changing, constantly transforming, and people don't want to change. And I think change is fun. I think that's also coming with like childhood. Like, you see how I always used to play dress up when I was like younger. Um, I would just like a boy here. I would just like a girl, like a really like sexy woman, or like I would, huh?
I would actually like dress up in my mother's clothes as well. When I
Yeah, like those things. I feel like that's a part of our identity. Like now when I wear baggy clothes and a big shirt, now I'm like, ooh, this is a look. But then the next day, if I'm popping out in heels and like a short skirt, like this is a look too. Like I think that fashion is a part of what we used to do when we was younger, is dress up. And everybody kind of, now that there's like certain looks of like, oh, the basic like leggings with the Uggs and the sweater, the H&M sweater, like that was a thing, and I wanted to be a part of it so bad,
the Adidas
but
track
I couldn't. Huh?
and the Nike Tech and the Adidas track pants.
Yeah, like I always wanted to be a part of those things, and then realizing like that's not who I want to be. Like
You
these constant. Say that again.
don't want to look like everyone else.
Yeah, like these constant outfits. Like you know how like people say like I wear the same sweater all the time. I'm like, after a while, like I don't want to wear the same sweater all the time. Not that I'm bashing anybody that wears the same sweater all the time, but like after a while, like I start to realize like this is not who I want to be anymore. Like now I want to dress up as somebody else. And I think that just comes from my inner child always wanting to have dressed up like somebody else. And I just think that's a part of our identity. And then it makes me think like there's these multiple characters that I am every day, and I feel so uncertain with myself and feel so confident in that, because I could give you whatever, like I can give you whatever you want, like, and I wish people were so much more open to change, because at one point I wasn't open to change. I thought I had to be this so that I could be successful, like a routine, so that I could be successful. Because people with routine, they usually get down to business, they're ambitious, they work hard, they know what they want, it's straight through. That's what I thought was the ideal path road, until I realized it don't work like that. Like, it's definitely nothing what it seems to be. And I think that's also why artists like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, they all switch up their style, the way they dress, the way they perform, their songs. There was a point where Rihanna was like, I'm breaking dishes, and the next thing you know, she's like, rum ba ba bum, rum ba ba bum. So and that transition is so good.
Beyonce's been more like, before the type of music she gave, it was so much more like, I'm in America, and now it's like I'm,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, and that transition, like it's not that she's not those things anymore. It's just like her elevation was just like, all right, now it's next. Like, this is now next.
something that I thought would never happen or wouldn't change, would be, I never thought that I would really sit in my truth and really like allow myself to be like, no, 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 this is who I am. I was right before, and also fearlessly put things out for the world to see. What kind of identity do you think your dancing has created for you?
Ooh, what kind of identity? I think dancing has resulted in my belief in my multiple identities. I think before I used to think I was just this one identity, like, oh, this is just me. But I think dance is the reason why I can see myself as vulnerable, but then I can see myself as fierce, but then I can see myself as fun. I think dancing kind of unleashed the personalities that I've always had, but never was in tune with, because, like, I was always like built to be strong and serious and be a good girl. And then, dance and college within itself just made me this whole rebel and this whole like outburst of energy. Like, I don't stop, like, I remember this one time in school, we had like this choreographic alternative media thing, and it was like this improvisational score that we had, and we all brought things from home that held value of some sort, and we all put it out in the space and we all used it. And my group in particularly were all acting like kids. I don't know what happened, but I kind of initiated that playfulness, because I started there was like a sheet. The first group used it as a tent, but my group, I used it as like, have you ever like put the curtain over yourself and like you made a dress of some sort?
Sure, I have. Like, I don't necessarily remember, but I'm pretty sure I have. Like,
Yeah, we were doing like all of that. Like, we were taking I was taking the curtain, I was putting it over myself. I had my bear there, so we dressed her up in human-sized clothes, and we just put the bear in it, and we were all like screaming at each other. We were all laughing. We were using the curtain to like pull each other on the floor, and it just reminded me of like everybody's kind of several identities coming out while we were dancing, because technically that was dance. We do a lot of like technically dance things in my school. Even standing still is a form of dance. So when we were doing all that, it made me realize that these identities that I've held within myself is unleashed, and particularly when I dance. or when I perform of any sort of way, because we were performing, basically. And once like a camera's rolling or once an audience is watching, it's like whatever my impulse in the dance decides is kind of who I become. So it's like random.
And you get to do whatever you want, you know?
Yeah. That's the best part, when you don't tell yourself who you need to be, but that yourself already tells you who you are. It's that, especially with being an artist, like feeling that energy becomes so important and so valuable to you that you kind of don't let it go, and you just kind of keep it growing and manifesting into your character. I think I manifested my dancing character to be me instead of me being my, well, I don't know. Because in high school, I always used to think I want to be the person I am when I dance. But now it's like the person I dance is who I am. And I think it's because of the dancing that has led to me.
They kind of balance each other out, basically, you know? It's like
Yeah.
you caught up with yourself and then it caught up with you.
Yeah.
You guys, you caught up with your dancing caught up with you. It's like a
Met in the middle.
codependent thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Compliment your dancing compliments you. Like
It's
if
like a relationship.
right, right. So it's like your dancing helps evolve and grow, but then you are creating something that doesn't exist. So it's
Yeah.
bringing you to it, you know?
Yeah,
Nobody else was gonna do it.
exactly. What about for you?
I would say I like that you just did that. I would say um my creativity has created for me an identity now of, you know, I hope someone who wants to change the world and someone who knows that you have to start from smaller areas, you know, and to implement changes to the big things. It always starts from the smaller areas. And you know, me sharing my creativity, it's very new. So it's like my journey is something that a lot of people don't know about, as opposed of you know, you have a lot to show for it. And me, like my like, all right, I'm ready. Hi guys, my name is XYZ. This is me. You know, so it's just I guess for me right now um it symbolizes someone who's ready.
I definitely feel like you're gonna constantly change and transform, and nothing's gonna be just what it is. It's always gonna be bigger than that, and it's gonna just expand. Like so much expansion comes with
People are gonna be like, Darrell, what are you doing right now?
that.
I don't know, just
You're literally always gonna say I don't know, but just trust that I know. Like it's like knowing that you don't know, but you know, but you don't know. I give you that. It's hard to say in words for now.
ooh. You just said, let me read you a poem that I wrote for myself, like during quarantine. And it's literally
Okay.
about not knowing. I'm gonna get it really quickly. What do I do when I don't know what to do? How do I do what I don't know how to do? How do I go for what's mine and maintain a peace of mind? How do I stay level headed and get where I'm headed? Simply by doing it. Simply doing it with trust, because trust is a must. By doing what I do not know how to do, I learn what to do when I don't know what to do.
Oh my god. Wait, can I read you something I wrote? It kind of correlates to what you just did. Let me go. Understanding that I am the tree of life. I transform my roots, leaves, and branches spiritually. I am where I know to be, growing, rewatering, and strengthening alone. In this world, I am trying. I don't know. Transform me. I'm confused. Somewhere, my relation to the ground beneath me. I am tree again, still going, finding a place.
Like I see why I reminded you of that, because it's like you don't know, but you're doing, you know, because
Yeah.
purpose, but you don't know exactly how you're getting where you're getting, but you just know that you're doing something. So it's just like we have to learn to just learn as we go. And it's hard to feel like you're not smart enough because you don't know as much, especially being
Yes.
young and coming from where we come from, and then going places, where you see other people and you're like, damn, like this person X, Y, and Z. But I think
Yeah.
at a certain point you just realize, no matter how much this person knows, they don't bring what I bring. Because skill
Right.
is something that anyone can learn, but it's really about you bringing you to that skill to make it into something.
Yeah. I feel like with not like from our environment ourselves, like as a prime example, even like people that know, sometimes they don't know what we know. Even though we don't know as much, there is beauty in the fact that we don't know. We don't have answers. Because in our reality, we only know what people tell us. And
Who is your biggest inspiration at the moment?
inspiration. I think not on some cocky shit, but
Mm,
I think my biggest inspiration
I knew you were
is my higher self.
I knew you were gonna say that, to be honest. I actually knew it when I asked you the question. For some reason, I just felt it. Um, and I would honestly say the same about myself. And that's because I look at my higher self as like, sorry, like where I don't feel like my higher self. It's just like, how could I match up to him? Like he's so, you know, it's like somebody I have to cater to. You
Yeah.
And yeah, but apart from that, I would say one of my biggest inspirations are Little Mix. Being that we were talking about the Cheetah Girls earlier, I wanted to show you this thing that I painted.
You have a friend? Never hide the cheetah inside. Yeah, you made that?
Yeah, I made this. This is like the first thing I painted when I ordered my like paint and canvas.
Yes, I love that.
But
Literally.
yes, thank you so much. I'm very grateful for you. And being that this is like our actual chance to meet, thank you for, nice to meet you basically is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, nice to meet you as well. We definitely need to Capricorn link up because we have a lot in common.
No, literally. Literally. Definitely. So with that, I will talk to you later, and I want you to have a good night. And this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes.
Bear it all for me. Get naked for the world to see. Write a song in company. So many days be wild and free. Go ahead, baby, do it proud. Let your hair down, sing it loud. Never stop at the